The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Oh, buddy, I've been waiting for this episode for a long time. It's time to talk about Boone Jenner and why this guy might be the perfect deadline target for the Vancouver Canucks. So much perfection on this episode because we're talking Boone Jenner, and guess what? Rob the hockey guy also joins the program. That's all coming up next here on Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, and also a Canucks writer for Daily Hive, Vancouver. Got to be careful because the boss man is on the program today.
Whoa.
More on that in a minute. Before we get into the episode here, we got to thank you. Yeah, I'm talking to you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. It is your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go subscribe or follow us for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I also got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place just a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. Speaking of getting started, let's get into it, okay? Boone Jenner to the Vancouver Canucks.
Whoa.
You know, it's trade deadline season coming up, buddy, and all kinds of rumors out there, all kinds of theories out there. But one guy that's not talked about a lot in circles probably outside of Locked On Canucks is Boone Jenner. So I wanted to do a dive into why I think Boone Jenner makes a lot of sense for the Canucks today, what a potential package could look like, and see if yourself, Kyle, and our guest Rob agree that Boone Jenner makes sense for the Canucks. We're also going to get into Tocchet, Pettersson, and the media, the relationship between those three, and whatever else we get into with Rob, buddy. But first and foremost, before we introduce Rob, Kyle, you're one of my best friends, man. So I got to ask you, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. The second best Hindu hockey podcaster out there, said by some, you know. I'm doing great, man. Excited to have this conversation. Yes, you know it. You know it. It's Friday, man. We're having some fun. That's all I can say. Anyways, Boone Jenner, speaking of having fun, a pretty interesting guy to talk about, bring up when it comes to trade deadline acquisitions for the first place Vancouver Canucks. I like where your mind is going. I also like this new thing we're doing today, and that's showing the world that we actually have friends, you know? It's going to be nice to talk to Rob about this. So why don't you introduce him? And let's get into it, man. Again, 100 questions about this because it could go so many ways. I haven't even heard this guy's name really be brought up with any team. So again, Boone Jenner to the Canucks. Rob Williams joining us here on Locked On Canucks.
Hey, look at that. It's like magic now. Rob Williams is with us here on Locked On Canucks. Rob, you know, we talk all the time, you know, 90% of it over Messenger. So it's good to talk to you over a different medium. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing great, guys. Sorry, I'm just cramming for Boone Jenner stats here. I'm just like trying to learn as much about Boone Jenner as I possibly can. No, I'm great. Great. Good to be on.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? It's funny because I know this Canucks Nation kind of got to know you as Rob the hockey guy. You know, now you're a national editor kind of going by Rob Williams. What do you prefer to be called? Do you prefer Rob Williams or do you like Rob the hockey guy still?
Call me whatever you want, guys.
There you go.
Let us start
Canadian
with Rob, and that's all right with me. We cover all sorts of sports. I remember the Toronto Raptors went to the NBA Finals. Like we were like, I was, you know, all into Raptors coverage and basically was a basketball writer for at least a month. I remember seeing on Reddit, there was like a Reddit thread where somebody was like, why does Daily Hive, like, why do they write about like the Raptors all the time now? Like they never cover the Canucks anymore during that time. So, but not anymore. The Canucks are relevant. The Canucks are good. The Canucks are fun. So it's been a nice change of pace to be covering a team that people are genuinely excited about. It's not like this death march. I mean, think about where we were like a year ago, and just it was miserable. Like I joke that my job went from like I get to cover the Canucks to I have to cover the Canucks.
Damn,
Yeah,
that
it
I know, I
was.
know, I know you're telling the truth too, man. Like that's not even no satire because you can only talk about losses for so long. You can only talk about future draft picks for so long. And look at us, 12 months later, talking about Boone Jenner again, a guy that's not on anyone's list, but these first place Canucks have their fans thinking of things on the outside, assuming the best and thinking premium when talking about getting a second line center, not just settling for maybe like, I guess at the high end, Adam Enrique, not just settling for other guys. Like, let's go after a guy that has some term, has a good contract on a struggling team. Let's shoot for the stars here.
Yeah, and I think with Boone Jenner in particular, a lot of why I think he is the perfect deadline acquisition for the Canucks is he really seems like a playoff guy and a Rick Tocchet kind of player, right? We're talking about a physical specimen, okay? He's got a body. He does it at all ends of the ice. And, for Boone Jenner, this guy spent his entire career with the Columbus Blue Jackets, okay? Again, Boone Jenner, yeah, BJ on the BJs, okay? That's maybe why he likes it there so much.
Whoa!
But Boone Jenner, yeah, it's a family program. But hey, come on, that could mean anything. Again, Boone Jenner, been with his Columbus his whole career, has not played a ton of playoff hockey, right? He was there when Columbus surprised the NHL, swept Tampa Bay. He was there when they, surprised the Maple Leafs in the bubble playoffs. But for most of his 689 game NHL career, Boone Jenner has not played in the playoffs. But you look at this guy and he is more of a goal scorer than a playmaker. But that being said, I think the Canucks have a lot of playmakers on their team, right? One of the other things I like about Boone Jenner too is that there's some versatility between playing center and playing left wing, right? He's played both of those positions throughout his career, been more of a center for Columbus and a first line center at that. Now, Boone Jenner shouldn't be a first line center on a good team, but guess what? The Canucks are a good team, so he's not going to be the first line center here. But he plays power play. He plays penalty kill. He hits. He can play with stars. I think he can play further down your lineup. Again, a lot to like about Boone Jenner. And let me add this off because the cap always matters in today's NHL. Boone Jenner is on a contract that pays him $3.75 million a season for the next 2 years. He does have an 8-team no trade clause. I'm all on the Boone Jenner train. Okay, he's not quite Jay Gensel, but I think he might be a more realistic target for the Canucks. Rob, maybe I'll throw it to you. Do you like the idea of acquiring Boone Jenner? And do you think it's realistic that the Canucks could actually acquire him?
First off, I like that you're tossing a new name in here because I feel like it can become bit of an echo chamber at this time of year, right? Mm-hmm. Where we all just kind of mention the same guys over and over. Everybody knows the guys: Elias Lindholm, Jake Gensel. Like we've been talking about those guys over and over and over. So yeah, why not somebody else? With term, and I really like the idea of acquire. If you're going to give up something of substance at the deadline, to me, it's make sure you get someone that's going to be a part of your team for more than 2 months, right? And that's the part that scares me about this talk about Gensel or Lindholm is that, like, those guys are not going to be coming cheap, right? And are you willing? Everyone's talking about going all in. The Canucks can go all in. Yeah, the Canucks should go all in. Okay, like, what's all in? Are you ready to trade like Lekaramaki for a rental? Because I feel like everyone's like, yeah, Canucks should go all in. Canucks should get Gensel, and then you're like, oh, what should they trade? And it's like, should they trade Willander or Lekaramaki? They're like, oh no, absolutely not. No, just trade their low first round pick and like Atu Ratu or like Podkolzin. Like, yeah, those are easy guys to say goodbye to at this point, right? Like relatively easy guys to say goodbye to. If you want to get like a perennial, like 30 to 40 goal scorer, a guy that's a proven playoff performer like Jake Gensel, like Pittsburgh's not giving him away. So like you're going to have to give up something that's going to hurt. That's going to make you go, oh man, I'd hate to see that guy go. It's not going to be just like, oh yeah, a bunch of spare parts on a team with, shallow prospect depth. So to me, I think I like the idea of looking to a different tier of player. Maybe a player where you don't have to give up your top prospects to get, and maybe someone you can build into your into the near future, at least with 2 years on his contract beyond the season. And I like you say, I love the fact that he's versatile. I love the fact that he's on an affordable contract for 2 more years to come, and he's just 30 years old. So you're not,
I like that.
You're not counting too far into the future, right? You're paying him till he's like 32, right? So
I like that, man. Look at what this guy said. He said he's only 30 years old. I'm paraphrasing, but you pretty much said that. Hey, I'm 30 years old. Beggsy's 30 years old. I think you're maybe 28, 27. All I'm saying is 30-year-olds still got it, okay? 30-year-olds still got it. And JT Miller is one of those guys who still has it. And I feel like the Canucks in their top 6, if they have JT Miller and Boone Jenner, I know both those guys combined haven't been like the best playoff players, don't even have the most playoff experience, but something just tells me that may translate into that hard-nosed game that you need from all 4 of your lines. Boone Jenner, I don't think it's going to happen, only because Trevor Beggs is just spewing out this name out there. I haven't heard it yet. Maybe this starts it all. But I also think about this. If Boone Jenner is traded for, and maybe next season doesn't matter so much, because you know what? We're first place right now. All these guys are playing at their peaks. Let's lean into the fact that we have a lot of UFAs, blah, blah, blah. If we do trade for Boone Jenner and he has that contract going into next season, does that mean that Teddy Blueger is not going to resign? Because it's going to cost some money to sign Teddy Blueger.
Yeah, I mean, I think Blueger.
Well, I also think acquiring Boone Jenner might be.
Yes. Sorry, Trevor. Yeah, I was going to say, like, that. I think that they're going to be tough to re-sign a lot of their guys there, right? So, like Blueger is probably pricing himself out of town because you've got 3 centers in the fold already, right? Like, are you going to, you've got to be careful about, and they've got to be careful too about re-signing a guy like Blueger. The challenge is going to be, you got to find the next Teddy Blueger, right? You got to find the next Dakota Joshua. You can try to re-sign a guy here and there, but for the most part, in a cap world, it's hard to retain those guys. You've got to find the next guy on a cheap deal.
Yeah, and this management regime has done a pretty good job of that, right? So I think they've earned the benefit of the doubt in terms of finding those guys who can provide value. Now, that being said, I do think acquiring Boone Jenner would be an insurance policy for losing Teddy Blueger, which, as you alluded to, Rob, is kind of likely at this point because Teddy Blueger, I think last time I looked at the Athletics player card, his value's around $3.5 million. I mean, he's definitely going to push $3 million, I think, based on the way he's playing this season. We talked about it earlier this week, and the everydayers know this. But Teddy Blueger's on pace for 45 points in 68 games. He's never exceeded 30 points in his career. I mean, this guy's absolutely on a heater right now. But for Boone Jenner, I think he'd be, a great second or even third line center. And again, at $3.75 million, I think that's a cost you can stomach. Now, I think before we end this segment here, we got to talk about what the potential trade for Boone Jenner could look like. Now, again, one of the reasons I like this deal is because you're not trading, a first and Lekkerimaki or Willander to the Pittsburgh Penguins for Gensel, right? Like, that's going to cost a lot to bring in Gensel. As good as a player as he is, it's a lot for a rental, again, as you alluded to, Rob. For Jenner, I do think something like a first-round pick and a Podkolzin would get it done. Now, would you even want to pay that much is up for debate. But again, a low-end first-round pick in Podkolzin, who, again, has had some ups and downs in terms of a pro hockey player. For a guy like Jenner, who, although is 30, is under contract for 2 more seasons. I think that's something that could get it done. And
I think that's too much, man. That's way too much. Like, look at what the Canucks gave up for Bo Horvat last year. Like, Aatu Ratu is pretty much Podkolzin, and then, like, the first-round pick is, like, the Horvat value. And Horvat's a 30-goal. Like, Boone Jenner, we're talking about him as our second-line center. We're talking about him essentially as an upgrade over Pius Suter. Like, I don't think he's top-tier second-line center. I think the most I would go for is, like, a second-round pick and maybe an Aatu Ratu or a Podkolzin, but definitely not a first-round pick. I know it's, in our eyes, we're being delusional. It's a late first-round pick, but I don't see the Canucks getting close to that.
Here's the reason why I think it might cost a first, and someone like Podkolzin maybe is not quite that much, right? But you look at the deadline last year. Tyler Bertuzzi was a guy who was traded. Now, Bertuzzi, similar profile to Boone Jenner, a bit younger, and he was a pending UFA, but that cost a first and a fourth, right? So, again, Podkolzin is a former first-round pick. Again, has had his struggles, but you look at a guy like Jenner, who's older, but he's cost controlled for a couple more seasons. I think he might cost more than that first and the fourth that the Leafs paid for Tyler Bertuzzi. Rob, maybe we'll throw it to you. What would your potential package be for Boone Jenner? And would you be paying a first in Podkolzin, or is that too much in your eyes?
I don't think I'd pay that for him. I think that's a little high, but yeah, I just, it's so tough. I mean, it's so hard to play the game of like, what would you give up to get the guy? Like, what does it cost? I mean, it's so hard to know what the market is going to be for that type of player. We don't even know if Columbus wants to deal him. He's their captain. They might be thinking this is a guy that we need to keep in the fold for a while. I just speaking more in generalities on this though, guys, like for me, what the Canucks should do totally is totally dependent on what the market is. What is the cost for players? I don't think they should be jumping out of their boots for Gensel or Lindholm. Like if you can get those guys at the right price, highly unlikely, then yeah, go for it. Or if you have a good sense, maybe by knowing agents and whatnot that you can re-sign them, or and that's sort of in your plans. Okay, I'm a bit more on board. Otherwise, to me, a lot of mistakes get made at the deadline, right? General managers get Stanley Cup rings in their eyes, and they want to make the move, and they convince themselves that these players are going to be what puts them over the top. And that's why we see teams overspend for players. Like look at Tyler Bertuzzi. Like think about the what they paid to get him last year. And now what is Tyler Bertuzzi on the Leafs now? He's a middle six forward, right? And they're giving up first round picks for the guy. So I think you need to be very, very careful about what you do at this time of year. Yes, this is a team, the Canucks I'm speaking about, that has a chance to win the Stanley Cup. That's exciting. And it's going to be hard for them to replicate the success they're having this season next year. But to me, if you have to go out and find a game-changing player to win the cup, you probably weren't a real contender in the first place. So I think you go out and you find the moves that I would say that they should be looking at are guys that fit a really specific need, and especially guys that you can find that are at the right price. And I think I've mentioned this recently, but look at what that 2011 team did. They added Max Lapierre for a third-round pick. They added Chris Higgins for a third-round pick. Nobody was talking about either one of those guys prior to the deadline in 2011. And they were undervalued at the time, and they turned out to be great fits for that team. Now, you look back at 2011, you go, well, geez, maybe they should have traded Corey Schneider and try to bring in like some guy on the second line and do a bunch of different things. So there is that other side of the coin. But I just feel like the main thing you should be doing is looking to find someone that fits a specific role for you, not someone that kind of is a game changer for you. And a more recent example, Ivan Barbashev with the Golden Knights last year, right? Like what a great pickup they made. They didn't have to give up first round picks to go get him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you look at like someone like Andrew Cogliano from the Colorado Avalanche Cup run as well. That was someone who cost a mid-round pick, and you ask or you hear interviews from every Colorado guy in that room, and they're like, that guy was a solid deadline acquisition. So you're right. Spending a lot of money on a guy like Lindholm, Gensel, Boone Jenner might not make the most sense for the Canucks, but it does sound like there's some smoke around them adding a top six guy. So, we're going to keep discussing it here on Locked On Canucks. And hey, over at Daily Hive too, we'll be talking about it as well. Okay. Leading up to the trade deadline. Let us know in the comments what you think of a potential Boone Jenner trade and what you would give up for Boone Jenner. On the other side, we'll keep Rob for a few more minutes, talk about Tocchet, Pettersson, and the media. Should the media be, shying away from asking questions about Elias Pettersson in the light of a contract year? And more on that on the other side. But first, I got to read 2 ads here. Unbelievable. First off, I got to shout out Indeed. We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors. Wow. According to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Speaking of faster, one of the things I love about Indeed is that I'm fast, just like Indeed's fast, okay? My wife calls me fast, and you know what? I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but hey, it is what it is.
Money. Time is money, man. It's a good thing, man.
Come on, man. I got the full-time job, the
It ain't
podcast
Valentine's
gig,
Day every
with
day,
Rob.
man. It ain't Valentine's Day every day, man.
Ooh.
You know the deal.
Valentine's Day is coming up, so I might have to stop my fast ways for that. But in general, Indeed, they will never stop being fast. They leverage over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day. Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. All listeners of this show, guess what? You'll get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Before we get to the second segment, I got to shout out FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place just a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. You know, the NFL conference championships are coming up this weekend. The Seahawks aren't into it, so I'm not even going to bother talking about that. You know, you can place a bet on FanDuel if you're betting on the NFL this weekend. What I want to talk about is this. Rob, we bring this up once in a while. We do the FanDuel ad read, the Canucks Stanley Cup odds. Do you want to guess? You might have seen this. You're a smart guy. Do you want to guess where the Canucks Stanley Cup odds rank among NHL teams on FanDuel?
I'd guess they're about 7th.
They are tied for 12th right now.
Are you?
The 12th best odds to win the cup. FanDuel, what's going on?
Yo.
Like
You know what it is?
You're
You know
egging
what
us
it
on
is? They've got to go through Vegas or Edmonton or maybe both, and those two are probably ranked ahead of them, right? In their division.
Oh, they sure are in terms of the FanDuel Cup odds, Rob. But come on,
Edmonton
we're all
is ahead of
believing
us?
the Canucks could do it. Oh, Edmonton has the second best Cup odds, only behind Colorado.
But that's always going to hurt you, right? If you've got an easier path, then your odds will be better. But yeah, the 12th does seem too low still.
But yeah, I mean, Rob, to your point, think about this: the LA Kings are plus 1,500 to win the Stanley Cup. The Canucks, who lead the NHL, are plus 2,000 to win the Stanley Cup. Unbelievable stuff.
Wow.
Anyways, if you want to place a few bucks on the Canucks to win the Stanley Cup, make sure you do so on FanDuel. You know what? That app, they have so many different ways to bet, including live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Okay. We back on another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bhawan. That right there is Rob Williams, man, a.k.a. Rob, the hockey guy, a.k.a. the guy who was feeding us the knowledge way back when, man. I remember going to the bus stop and getting those free papers. What were they before? The Daily Buzz,
Man City Buzz.
Man City Buzz. Man. There you go. The free papers and seeing the emoji.
What
we
papers
never
are you
had a
talking
paper.
about? What are you
thinking? You're thinking of 24 hours or 24 Metro.
Hours. Yeah, one of those things. Like I remember you having a blog in the side column of one of those free papers. Was am I right on that? Was that
not
you?
Me. No, not me.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
Another Rob. It is what it is. It is what it is.
You're thinking of Guts McTavish.
I know somebody.
You compared Rob to a sock.
Were you on the Province or the Vancouver Sun or anything written? Anything written in your life?
I've always been ahead of the game with digital.
Oh, well, different Rob.
Man. I was featured in 24 hours, like early on when I was blogging. And remember they used to have those like 5-on-5, I think was the feature. I can't remember.
It must have been 24 hours then. I just remember.
It was one of those, but I remember being like super excited to be in like 24 hours because I was like there in print. That was a cool moment. That was there's no way you remember that from 10 years ago though.
No, I definitely do because I remember seeing, if I'm correct, like it was your emoji or like your icon as like the header, like at the bottom of your article to be like Rob, the hockey guy. And I don't know. I think it was 24 hours. I used to take the bus a lot. I'm pretty sure it was you. Maybe I was in an alternate universe. Okay. Anyways, Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. Let's get to the comments before we talk more about the media and Pettersson and all that. In my opinion, boring stuff, to be honest. Okay, look at this. Mr. Whale says, we need guys with special needs, okay? Special needs, special players. Trevor, don't make that face, okay? Special players. And I remember earlier in the conversation, we're talking about guys like Bertuzzi and Boston giving up a lot to get him, and look where that took them. Well, I don't think it's Bertuzzi's fault that they lost that series. The guy had 5 goals and 5 assists in 7 games. So it's like, dude, when you're going to go for it, sometimes you got to go for it. And I, again, wouldn't be shocked if the Vancouver Canucks go all in, minus having to give up Lekkerimaki or Willander this season, and they do kind of mortgage some other parts of their future to, again, lean into the fact that a lot of their best players are playing at their best right now. JT Miller is not going to be doing this forever. Let's be honest and let's be real. Got to lean into that. And again, we talked about Bluger Joshua, etc., Lafferty, Ian Cole, like a lot of UFAs on this team playing way above value. So this may be the year to like really lean into things and to carry it over to Pettersson. Yo, this might be the last year Elias Pettersson is a Vancouver Canuck. Yo, we got to start realizing that. That's just the truth. So this season matters. And if the Canucks got to mortgage their future to go try to win a cup for the people, I'll take it. It's not like they're fighting for a playoff spot and they're going all in. Like, we're talking about a first place team at the game 50 mark. I know this team lacks experience, but hey, I'm not believing in FanDuel when they're thinking that the LA Kings are better than the Vancouver. You know what I'm saying? I know the path to the cup is going to be hard, but I think the Canucks are kind of equipped to do it.
I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, I think there's a few different ways to accomplish that goal where you go, okay, yeah, add a flashy player, add a guy that scores a lot of goals, super expensive to get. You're giving up futures for that player, add him to your second line. The other way to go about looking at this, though, is their penalty kill is still not very good, right? Mm-hmm. What if you go out and you add 2 penalty killers, right? Like Chris Tanev's the guy that's talked about all the time, right? Tanev, you know he fits in that locker room. You know what he does. You know he'd be jacked to come back to Vancouver. You know that you can pair him with Hughes if you need to, right? Or you keep him with Hronek and play him down the lineup. And you know he will eat a puck if he has to on the penalty. And even if he doesn't have to on the PK, add a guy like that and suddenly your penalty kill becomes a hell of a lot better. And that's not costing you a first round pick. Maybe it does for Tanev, but it's not going to cost anywhere near a Jake Gensel. And so to me, that a guy like that, and then maybe find the forward version of that, someone that can play, a middle 6 forward that's a great penalty killer. Suddenly, maybe you make up that value with a couple smart ads rather than the big splash on a big name.
Well, Rob, I kind of wanted to ask you this we touched on it earlier in the topic of Lekkerimaki, Willander. I know Kyle is all in for mortgaging the future. How do you feel?
Minus those guys. I don't want to give up those.
Okay. You're one of those guys.
I said it though. I said minus those guys,
Okay. So I was going to say, Rob, how do you feel about including Lekkerimaki or Willander in a potential trade at the deadline here?
To me, Willander's definitely no. Like, you've got not much, you've got a lot of, if you're drawing up your future on defense, you've got Hughes, and then who knows what Hronek's going to be making. Like, you're going to need some good young defensemen coming up through the pipeline, and they finally got a couple that have some potential. I'd steer away from trading any of their defense prospects. I think, to me, you're trading forwards. Lekkerimaki, I have time for. I'm not lining up to deal Lekkerimaki. Like, that'd be a deal that hurts. But is he absolutely stay clear of trading him? Not necessarily. I mean, he had a very disappointing season 1 year ago, and he's had a great bounce back year now. Excellent showing at the World Juniors. Maybe you're selling high on him right now, right? Like, all depends on what you think of Lekkerimaki. But to trade a winger, that's a prospect. I have more time for that, but it's got to be for the right piece. It can't be just for a rental that you lose after 2 months.
So Jake Gensel, you wouldn't be trading Lekkerimaki for Jake Gensel unless there's an extension in place.
Exactly. Yeah. No. If you knew you could keep Gensel and that's a plan for the future, then sure, I'm more open to it. But of course, there's an opportunity cost, because then that means you're going to be losing somebody else as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you sign a guy like Jake Gensel all of a sudden, and we talked about this Bluger Dakota Joshua not being able to afford them. Can you maybe not even afford like Philip Hronik now, right? So there's opportunity costs with everything. I wonder if there's any opportunity costs with Tocchet criticizing the media recently. Rob, did you take it personally? No, I'm just messing around. I got to give Rob some credit because we were chatting after that game, and I think I wanted to be more negative media and go with the Pettersson or Tocchet's quote in the headline, and Rob's like, I don't know about this. We don't want to blow it out of proportion. So
thank you, Rob. Thank you,
I'm gonna
man.
pump you up there, Rob.
Thank
But
you.
what was your whole take on that whole situation from Tocchet's post game comments to him calling out the media yesterday?
Yeah, I feel vindicated because, like, that was something we really struggled with, right? And it was like, okay, like, how are we going to frame this? Because he did criticize them, or it was a critique, right? It wasn't lowercase c on criticize, but it's not like we know how Tocchet is. Like, he gives honest assessments on players, and this was not like him, like he wasn't happy with his game, but it's not like he was like ripping him to shreds. Now, and the follow-up piece to this was also difficult to frame because it was definitely a story, right? Like, everyone's talking about what Tocchet said about the media, but was Tocchet reacting to what he read in the media, or was Tocchet responding to what he heard was apparently the talk in the market? Because I thought the way the question was framed to him was that the media that Tocchet is somehow blasting Pettersson, right?
Blasting.
And then Tocchet really fixated on the word blasting, right? Like, he was like, I'm not blasting anyone. Like, if you guys are saying, he's basically was like, that's on you guys are saying that I'm blasting. And it's like, nobody wrote that he was blasting them, right? I think people were sharing it all around. Like, the harshest headline was from Sportsnet and it was just a video clip. It wasn't even from like an iMac article or anything like that. It was a video clip from somebody that said it in Toronto, and you can maybe quibble with that a little bit on the way they framed it. But even then, it was pretty subdued. Like I thought the media got it right on this one. Like, people were not taking the ball and really running with it. Of course, it's a story. It's Pettersson. It's Vancouver. It's going to be a story. But people were not making this out to be Tocchet versus Pettersson. Can they coexist? It was nothing like that.
Yeah, I think it was pretty obvious that it was nothing like that. But I think Tocchet was right to kind of have some attitude towards the wording around that question, because I don't think anyone in the fan base really thought he was blasting Pettersson. Like, the fan base didn't need that answer. The fan base didn't need the answer that maybe the media was looking for. Like, Tocchet would obviously call out Pettersson face to face and with the media. He would, you know what I'm saying? And I think, again, that wasn't an answer the fan base needed. We know the answer. We know who Tocchet is. And again, Pettersson, he wasn't blasted by Tocchet. It was just criticized like he was criticizing other players. I liked it. I didn't like the wording of the question. And I just feel as if, I don't know if there's any truth to this, but I just feel as if we don't need to be bugging Pettersson, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we need to keep this guy, dude. And I know, like, maybe he doesn't care about these things, but a part of me feels like he does, man. And a part of me feels like he does because he hasn't signed yet with the Vancouver Canucks. And it's not as if you have to be soft with these players and whatnot, but this guy's already doing the most on the ice. He's provided a lot of value for us. Look, our jobs are a lot more fun. Let's just take it easy on Elias Pettersson. So we get that 8-year deal.
The thing about it is, I think the media has taken it easy on Pettersson. And I think this was pretty soft. It was a, the original question after the game was like, do you think Pettersson's, do you think he's being a bit off? Like, he looked a bit off tonight, right? And I must admit, I was in the press box in the elevator down, and I was like, yeah, Pettersson wasn't. I was saying to myself, yeah, Pettersson, wasn't that noticeable really tonight. Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah. He hasn't been bad. I mean, there's some revisionist history that goes on when these things happen, right? Like, nobody was criticizing Pettersson before that game. Now everyone's coming out of the woodwork saying like, oh yeah, he's been terrible for 4 games. It's like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
He hasn't been electric before, but he was he was the first star of the week, like 10 days ago? Like, this is not a long slump here, right? So look, it was what it was. I don't think the media was being too hard on Tocchet. I think Tocchet gave an honest answer, and people are going to talk about it. If you're criticizing Pettersson in any way, like it's going to be a talking point. I think the media framed it correctly, and I think just it was just an unfortunate. The one word, I think Tocchet got really fixated on that one word, and I think he heard that, and I think he thought that the media in Vancouver went to like level 10. And was really making this into like this massive controversy, which they didn't. It was a talking point, but it wasn't like full on, negative media controversy. Like that just did not happen. So.
It was the word. It was the word. I mean, blasting is a pretty destructive word, Pretty
sure. Guys, I love
use.
If I get a chance to use blast in a headline, like I don't turn that down very often. So the fact that we didn't use, we used a much softer way of framing the story, like that's because that's what it was. So I guys, this is all going to blow over. They'll probably come out Saturday and blow out Columbus. Pettersson will have 3 points, and they'll be cruising to the All-Star break, and everyone will have forgotten about this.
There you go.
Cruising to the All-Star break. And that game against Columbus coming up on Saturday. We will talk about that briefly on the other side. But Rob, before we get out of here, just want to thank you for coming on, buddy.
Thank you, bro.
I really appreciate it. Anything you want to plug before we get out of here? Come on, man. You're Mr. National Media guy, man. Tell us about it, okay?
24 hours at all translate stops.
Go to the library, get on the microfiche and find my old newspaper columns, apparently, that Kyle used to find.
Oh man.
No, dailyhive.com, Rob the Hockey Guy on Twitter. So actually, guys, that was a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys having me on. Before
you go for good, when I intro myself, what should I say? Daily Hive Vancouver, Daily Hive Offside. What should I say, man?
I just want people to know Daily Hive. Like all the other, there's only so many brands you can throw at people. So whatever feels good, do it.
All right. Daily Hive Vancouver feels good. If it rolls up the tongue, Daily Hive Vancouver.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep that one. Rob, appreciate the hell out of you being on here, buddy. Kyle and I are going to wrap up the show on the other side. But first, I got to shout out eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from, wow. For your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, baby. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
Dude, I got an oil change today. Does eBay Motors do oil changes online? Is that possible in 2024? Maybe. Okay, we back on another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name's Kyle Bhawan. That right there is Trevor Beggs. One love to Rob, the hockey guy. I swear to you, man, I read his articles somewhere in the train. I'm not in the bus stops. Like, that's the most random thing to say. So it must have been 24 hours, I swear, man. I swear, dude. Because you know why I know? Because you remember feelings. And I was going to journalism school at the time, and I was taking the bus a lot. And I just remember, like, seeing that face and being a little jealous that this cartoon character was writing about hockey, man, and being read.
Yeah, that was a funny pull right there, man. But the boss man Rob, I had to be on my best behavior for that one. But appreciate him coming on. Rob's the reason I got to cover Canucks game, man. I guess just give myself some credit. I've been writing about the Canucks for 10 years, but Rob's the guy that got me up in the booth. So I thanked him for sure. I did not thank him on this episode of Locked On Canucks, but hey, that's all right, buddy. Hopefully Canucks Nation will be thanking me when the Canucks acquire Boone Jenner and he helps us win a Stanley Cup. Let's go, baby. But the Canucks are playing Boone Jenner and the Columbus Blue Jackets this weekend. I don't know if it's definitely not the sexiest matchup, aside from the fact that we're talking about future Canuck Boone Jenner being involved in it. Did see some comments asking about Boone Jenner's injury. let's bring it up. I think it was it
The
was
broken
Callum
jaw,
Sadu.
dude.
There we go.
Callum,
Yeah,
man, he's out
so
for 6 weeks.
yeah,
I think he's gonna be back in a couple weeks. Don't worry, I did the doctor's report, man. I think he'll be back in a
he's already
couple weeks.
back.
He's already back.
He
He's playing
played.
games.
Yeah, he played recently. I think he's played 4 games since he's been back.
Okay, there you go. The last time I read
but
something, it was like he was out for 6 weeks. It said a month ago. So, boom, this guy's tough. He's coming back early, man. He's coming back early, man. Yo, think about this again. You're going to play your top 6 a lot in the playoffs, right? I think the Canucks are going to be a 4-line team, blah, blah, blah. But you're going to see the top 2 lines, 18 to 22 minutes a game, 17 to 22 minutes a game. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun for us and not fun for other teams to have to go against Boone Jenner or JT Miller every second shift, either paired up with like Brock Besser and Elias Pettersson. You know what I'm saying? Like it kind of makes sense. You know, Boone Jenner, I think I know this about Boone Jenner. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this in 2024, but I'm going to say it anyways, right? He's a good old Canadian kid, right? He's a good old Canadian kid. And last time I checked, let's play the game right now before we get out of here. How many Canadians do the Vancouver Canucks have on the team, man? Okay? Straight up. So let's get a little old Canada in there. Not that it matters, but bringing the Stanley Cup back home, I don't know. If we want that to happen, maybe we got to sprinkle in some more Canada. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's definitely not a lot of stars on the Canadian team or on the Canucks who are Canadian. Let's check it out quick. Oh my God, it is more dire than I thought, man.
Ian Cole is American. Is Ian Cole American?
Ian Cole is American.
Okay, sorry. So not Ian Cole. He kind of reminds me of a good old Canadian kid. Okay, so again, like who is it? Dakota Joshua, Sam Lafferty.
Dakota Joshua's American.
Oh my God,
Sam Lafferty's American. Right now, okay, I'm on hockeyreference.com. It is showing 3 Canadians on the Canucks active roster. And I got to double check this, but it's saying Carson Soucy, Noah Juleson, and Mark Friedman.
Yeah, no, that's
Do the Canucks not have 1 Canadian forward? Holy heck, that blows my mind, man.
There you go, man. So again, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this in 2024. I think I can say it once. You know, I'm not demanding for a lot, but let's get a good old Canadian kid at the trade deadline. All right.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kyle. I'm going to give you some love on that one, man. We did talk about prior to the season. Every Dares would know this, but the Canucks, they're America's team, man. They got one of the highest proportions of American players in the NHL. And again, a lot of their stars and impact players are American. And now this season, the depth guys have stepped up as well.
Yeah.
With Dakota Joshua, Ian Cole, Connor Garland, right? I guess we should mention quickly that Tyler Myers is
half and half.
Born in the States, but has played for Team Canada in the past. So I guess we have 3.5 Canadians, and they're all in the defense.
Yeah, there you go, man. There you go. You know what? I want to bring up something else. I know we're running so late on time, but you know what? I really don't care too. We're talking to the people to Friday. Go Canucks, go. We're first place team. I think we got to work a little hard here too. I'm done with that notion that we got to play it safe here. I'm done with that, man. I'm done with it. Now we're seeing what FanDuel is doing to us. The Oilers, the Kings, they're better than us, blah, blah, blah. Yo, we've been in first place since the season started. And again, last time I checked, we're 3-0 against the Edmonton Oilers. So suck on that, okay? Come on. And straight up, I'm done with us playing it safe. Like, why are people going to be okay with targeting players that are not as good as Pius Suter, that is not as good as Sam Lafferty, that is not as good as Dakota Joshua, that is not as good as Teddy Bluger? You know what I'm saying? What's the point of that? We're first place.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, man. And it's I think we embrace the disrespect here in Vancouver. It seems like there's a lot heating up between Edmonton fans and Canuck fans right now when you look online. Edmonton, again, winning 15 games in a row. So I think that's got to be a topic as we get into next week. Again, obviously a quieter week with no Canuck games. We'll be doing some potential trades the Canucks could make. Obviously going through the rumors, the news, some All-Star game stuff. And again, I do want to talk about Edmonton versus Vancouver, who actually has a better shot at winning the Stanley Cup. F what FanDuel has to say.
Whoa. We love FanDuel though, man. But we got, it's conflict of interest, you know? It's like Canucks, FanDuel, you know what I'm saying?
I got emotional.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens, man. It's sports, man. One love to FanDuel.
One love to FanDuel. And one love to you for listening to this episode of Locked On Canucks. Whether you joined us live, whether you're an everyday or an occasional listener, a first-time listener, or a new subscriber, we love each and every one of you, your families, and your dogs too. Kyle, you got anything to say to the people before we get out of here?
Again, man. Trevor, you brought it up. Like, let's embrace the disrespect. Let's embrace the hate, blah, blah, blah. But internally, I just want more Canucks fans to tap into this delusion / reality that the Stanley Cup could be coming to Vancouver. Like, how many times in our history have we been first place? Like, we're 50 games into the season. They've been consistent the whole time. They've been pretty resilient. I know Rob brought up how they don't have a good penalty kill. The last time I checked, over the last couple of months, Their penalty kill is probably top 5. Straight up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe that's a topic for another episode because we do got to
Yeah.
get out of here. But you look under the hood, and the Canucks are still allowing, a fair amount of high danger chances, fair amount of scoring chances. Like really, the penalty kill has been propped up by the goaltender.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Well, that's why we employ Thatcher Demko. Okay, so that's part of the team. That's part of the team's success. Go Canucks, go, man.
Go Canucks, go! And we got you covered here for everything on Locked On Canucks. Have a great weekend. We appreciate you for tuning in. We'll catch you next time here on Locked On Canucks.
Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked